Microsoft just unveiled a huge change to their overall strategy, and at first I was really worried, but turns out PC players like myself don't have anything to worry about. We've got some really good news coming from Microsoft right now. All of this news comes out of Summer Games Fest, essentially the industry's replacement for E3. E3 died so that Summer Games Fest could live. Either way, I don't care what you want to call it. Summer Games Fest or E3 has always been really exciting to me as somebody who loves to watch video game trailers and get excited about the stuff that's coming out. And so I watched all of that stuff. We talked about some of it on the podcast. We have more podcasting to do to talk about that stuff. But today, I want to talk about the Microsoft announcements, and not all of them. I want to just talk about their announcements when it comes to exclusivity. For those of you who missed the Xbox stuff, basically, they unveiled a whole bunch of games. They showed off a bunch of different stuff. And of all of the stuff that they listed, just 2 games are now exclusive to Xbox. And those 2 games are Gears of War E-Day and a new IP called Clockwork Revolution. When those games were shown on screen, it said on screen, Xbox console exclusive, which my immediate reaction was like, well, what does that mean for PC? Because we've seen Sony essentially, they were taking baby steps towards releasing more games on PC, and then they decided to do an about face. Now, there's some speculation that that's because Microsoft is building Project Helix, and it's going to be able to play PC games. There's some people who are speculating that that's because the Steam machine is coming out, and that also plays PC games. And Sony wants to lock it down so that they can have full control over the games that they are releasing. And having a box that is very console-like, but not a PlayStation, playing PlayStation games is something that Sony was not interested in. So they've pretty much, now it's been pretty much confirmed that they've walked away from that, and only their big multi-platform stuff is going to be also on PC. When Microsoft put exclusive to Xbox consoles, my initial reaction was, okay, they're now doing the same thing that Sony is doing, but they're not. Let's go to this quote that is over on Polygon. It says here, these are not timed exclusives, meaning they're not games that will eventually come to PS5. In fact, it says these 2 games will never be released on PS5. They will have PC versions, though. Microsoft remains committed to increasing interchangeability of Xbox gaming across console and Windows. The question that I saw a lot of people asking is, why did they pick these 2 games to be their exclusive games? What is it about Clockwork Revolution and Gears of War E-Day that those are the ones? Why aren't they making the new Halo campaign Evolved? How come that is not going to be an exclusive on the console? And here's the reason why. If you look into this, it says here, games already announced for multi-platform releases will stick to that plan. Notably, this means Forza 6, Halo, Campaign Evolved, and Fable, 3 of Xbox's first-party jewels, are still PS5 born, and I think that that makes a whole lot of sense. There's 2 reasons why that makes sense. The first reason is you don't want to piss off a bunch of people who are thinking about buying your games. If Microsoft announced that Forza, Halo, and Fable are all coming to PlayStation, and then, there's people who are like, I bought a PlayStation 5 Pro because the PlayStation 5 Pro is the most powerful console that you can get, and I'm going to be playing Fable on that thing. And then Microsoft says, actually, we're going to not bring it to the PlayStation 5. That would tick off a lot of people, and it might tick them off enough that they're like, all right, well, I'm never buying another Xbox game again. So, doing an about face and changing something where they've already announced it, I think that would be, number one, a horrible PR move. But number 2, probably impossible. And that brings me to my second point. I think it's probably impossible for them to change their mind on this because, and listen, I don't have any inside information here, but I'm just guessing that in order to bring a game to the PlayStation 5, somebody at Microsoft and somebody at Sony probably had to get in a room together and sign some kind of paperwork that says, yes, this is happening. We're going to publish our game on your platform. And then Sony's like, yes, you are allowed to publish your game on our platform. And they signed a contract. And if you signed a contract, then you have to bring that game to that platform. So what I feel like is any game, whether it's already been announced or not, that has that ink dry on the paper, I think that game will still be a multi-platform game. However, there's also going to be other games that are not going to be exclusives, and it's because they're probably multi-platform games. What kind of games am I talking about? Probably online kind of games. You know what I mean? And if we scroll down here, it says, we want people to choose Xbox because great games and experiences. That also means giving you something that was made for Xbox. That's talking about why are we making exclusive games for Xbox? Well, that kind of clears that up. But underneath that, it says our big multiplayer games and live service games are going to continue to be multi-platform. This automatically rules out a lot of Microsoft's portfolio in the form of exclusivity, including Call of Duty, Blizzard games like Diablo 4 and Overwatch, and arguably Halo and the Forza series too. Now, Halo and Forza, the reason why those wouldn't be exclusive, super exclusive games is because those are games that really do well when it comes to multiplayer. Like, that's a multiplayer focused games. Whether you play it for the campaign or play it for online, you want to have multi-platform games on as many platforms as you can, because that way there's more people to pull from when it's time to do some matchmaking. The smaller your base of people, the harder it is to get matchmaking happening fast. I can give you a perfect example of that. I got Marathon, and in that first weekend, I was just playing like nonstop. And the last time that I tried to play Marathon, because there's so few people, matchmaking took like 5 minutes, and I got sick of it and just shut it off and said, I guess I won't play it. So online multiplayer stuff is definitely going to continue. If we also take a look at, the ones that they were talking about, like Diablo 4, again, multiplayer. Call of Duty, however, that's a different animal. When Microsoft bought Activision, one of the things that some government agency, I can't remember which one, basically said, you have to have this be multi-platform. If you are going to buy this company, you have to put Call of Duty everywhere, even on Nintendo Switch, which is why we're finally getting a Call of Duty game on a Nintendo platform for the first time in a really, really long time. They also said, if we promised something to players already, we're going to honor that promise. That comes from Matt Booty. He said, and then we're going to make the right decision, not the fastest decision. We're going to keep thinking about this going forward. And our principle is when we announce a date, we announce the platform. So it's going to be on a case-by-case basis, but we're going to be clear. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, I saw some discussion out there where people were saying, if it's a single-player game, make it exclusive. If it's a multiplayer game, don't make it exclusive. And I understand that. But honestly, I think that while that's true, I think for the single player games, it also depends on your budget. If you are spending a whole bunch of money on a game, you should probably entertain the idea of it being multi-platform. We have seen Xbox and PlayStation complain nonstop this generation about the fact that the every generation that comes out, the number of consoles that sell pretty much stays the same. Basically, what that means is they're struggling to grow console gaming on the whole. And if they're struggling to grow console gaming, that means in order to have growth, and shareholders care about growth, in order to have growth, they have to find a way to sell games to more people. And the only way to do that is to go multi-platform. Now, luckily for Microsoft, going down PC would count as multi-platform. And so what are they going to bring to PlayStation? I think just the multiplayer games will be on PlayStation, but everything that Microsoft makes, I think, is going to be on PC all the way going forward until the end of time. And if you want to see some evidence of that, check out this article from Push Square. If we scroll down into it, basically what they're talking about is that Xbox says it will try to do more with console exclusives if the health of its business improves. And they're basing that off this quote from Asha Sharma. She said, look, I think we are the #2 publisher in the world. And when you do that, you want your games to be everywhere. You're stronger when the world plays with you. Basically saying you make a lot more money when you put your games in more places. At the same time, we're increasingly becoming more of a platform, and it's hard to find examples of platforms out there that don't have exclusive services and content. And so this is a journey for us. Our business isn't particularly healthy, as you noted, and we're starting to introduce 1 or 2 signature exclusives. And as the business side is healthy, we will look and try to do more. So basically what she's saying here is, yeah, Microsoft they have their back up against the wall. So what they're going to do now is release a couple of exclusives and see what happens. See if that actually helps with the health. And if it doesn't, then maybe they pull back from this altogether. And then she said something else that I thought was really interesting. She said, it's hard to imagine mass audiences can afford spending thousands of dollars on consoles. We'll see radically different models later this year. So what could those radically different models be? Well, obviously, Microsoft has the Game Pass model, and Game Pass allows you to stream. So they could be talking about streaming as a model. One thing that I had seen Microsoft do in the past, and I believe it was with the Series X, is you could buy the Series X for X number of dollars per month. And then at the end of a certain number of months, you would then own it, basically like a rent to own. I don't love that idea because you're obviously paying way more that way, but it might be the only way for some people to actually enjoy console gaming when the parts are so hard that the companies can't get them in order to make them. And if you're looking for evidence of that, I have this tweet from Wario64. He's quoting Matthew Ball, who works at Xbox. He says, "We are producing them as quickly as possible. There is a severe limitation to how quickly we can do that, but it's not a question of appetite. This is a privilege. As a company, it's a challenge for us to figure out." Basically, he's saying we can't keep up with the demand. Every time we make a console, we sell a console. We cannot make them fast enough. Why can't they make them fast enough? Because AI data centers are buying up all of the RAM chips, and it's driving the cost, the supply way down, and it's driving the cost of RAM chips way up. And I've got a perfect t-shirt for you to check out. It's called RAMpocalypse. You can see it right here. And basically wear this, and you can show everybody that you lived through the RAMpocalypse. If you want to check out some of the other shirts that we got, we also have DRM, You Bought It, They Own It, He Doesn't Like You, and Schrodinger's Console. So if you're looking for a way to support the channel, check out the link down below and get some cool shirts while you're at it. All right, back to what I was saying. He goes on to say, we are working very hard to rethink everything that we can about Helix, which is a console we are committed to shipping. So basically, Microsoft has now said, look, we might have to rethink how Helix, and if you don't know what Project Helix is, it's their next console. We're going to have to rethink how Project Helix is going to work in response to the RAMpocalypse. He goes on to say, we are very cognizant of the ways in which we need to change as a company to make sure that it is affordable, to make sure that it is flexible. We are working hard to rethinking what that console model can look like, not in an exclusionary way, but in an additive way, so that as we take a look at this crisis, which may have an acute effect for 2 to 2.5 years, meaning the RAMpocalypse is far from over. And Microsoft has now basically openly admitted that they are rethinking Project Helix. And I would not be shocked if PlayStation is doing the same thing with the PlayStation 6. We might be in for the longest video game generation ever, because the RAMpocalypse is going to continue, according to Microsoft, for another 2 to 2.5 years. I think we're just going to be sitting there playing games on our PlayStations and our Xboxes for a really long time. Hopefully the prices of those devices don't continue to rise every single year. But anyway, what do you guys think about all of this news? Are you super happy that Microsoft is bringing back exclusives? Are you, like me, really happy that those exclusives are also going to be on PC? Let me know in the comment section down below. And before you get out of here, make sure you check out the t-shirt shop. From the NerdNest, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching. Stay rad.